go? Welcome back to more Koyomimonogatari episode 5 and 6. It's good we're doing these two at a time, these little bite-sized stories that, I like the way you said this, Thorfinn, that, you know, me talking about wanting to rewatch the show, this kind of, yeah, it also works like a recap, taking, I guess one more look at all these characters in the past as we go through what seems to be a year at this point, you know, going with the whole calendar theme. Koyomimonogatari. Apparently Nishio Isin also did that in his other series, Katanagatari, which is a very cool chapter released every month for a year and an episode of the anime every month. So yeah, I mean, I've heard good things about that one, so I might have to check that out at some point. But yes, I was at a bit of a loss, specifically for Koyomi Water, for sure. And I think in me doing first reactions to these little short episodes, it really doesn't leave me with not a lot to say, because obviously plot-wise we're really just seeing these kind of like pocket instances of whatever story that the girls tell to Araragi, and you know what the meaning of that story is and how it applies to, you know, the grander scheme or to them personally, and you know, thinking back and kind of putting those things together. It's a bit tough for me, so I really appreciated the comments you left regarding that. Nitinol, Hamster Duct Tape, Thorfinn, thank you very much, because you guys left pretty in-depth comments, especially you, Thorfinn. Because Nitinol, you reminded me of this quote, and I'm kicking myself for not remembering this, especially with the theme of water and focusing on Kambaru, is that quote from Hana Monogatari from her mother, which is, if you can't be a cure, be a poison, otherwise you're just plain old water. And hearing that, then I of course I thought it was very interesting, you know, and I thought about it a bit, but going back to that theme of water, yeah, it makes sense to think of that again. Even thinking of, like you pointed out, Slippers in the comment to that, and you know, Thorfinn, you talked about it as well, like the rainy devil and how that applies to the theme as well, and that connection between Kambaru and her mother, her family. It was cool to hear about, you know, her father and that little thing where he said he saw his future wife in there, and what you see, because there's a lot of things that you guys pointed out, which I'm still going to address a few things there, of course, but I think after reading everything, my favorite thing that you said, Thorfinn, was that just like what you see in the water is a reflection of yourself, whatever you see in this episode is probably just a reflection of your own thoughts and ideas. And yeah, I like that a lot, in trying to figure out what it means and what you see that meaning as and what it could be representative of. And yeah, I like that a lot. Other things I want to shout out, apparently, you know, that One Piece art style I pointed out, which is funny because I've never seen an episode of One Piece ever, but I remember the style of the characters, of course, because I just see them around sometimes. But apparently that was a reference to the anime / manga Kaiji, which is about gambling, who the protagonist is constantly in debt to shady organizations, is always looking for a way out of it. So considering a conversation about being in debt to Meme, very good reference, Monogatari. Also another thing you Hamster pointed out, was about the natural phenomenon, you know, the man-made versus apparition versus natural, kind of like the chaos of nature which kind of caused that, but also like another natural phenomenon which made like Mayoi, and this has definitely happened to me, it's probably happened to many of us, a phenomenon to recognize like shapes and lines as faces. Like I remember as a kid seeing that all the time in clouds, or just in trees, or even at night, you know, thinking I saw something scary, but it called, and hopefully I'm pronouncing this right, pareidolia, which is how you can recognize a couple of dots in a curved line as a smiley face, for example. So yeah, it's a bit more flavor there for natural phenomenon. So like my always seeing that in the sandbox. And as far as other things, you pointed out, Thorfinn, after the calendar thing, which, by the way, I appreciate you and Nitinol also pointing out that how getting the Koyomi Water episode and the kind of how it tests our mind to think about it is something that just didn't happen to me. So I'm glad that's the case, that we can all just kind of think about it and, you know, share the thoughts with each other, which I appreciate. But you also point out things like purity and impurity, like jokingly referenced when Araragi says she's 30-minded despite having such a great bath. but you can see the monkey arm is a spiritual impurity, as well as the fact that she never cleans her room. So, and this next thing is something I really like that you pointed out, which is you said is your running thesis, which is that Kamado at the end was not entirely honest with Araragi about what she saw in the water. You know, it was like a funny moment where she said, "I see my boobs and I see my abs," and it's like, you know, but also that maybe she did see something, you know, more personal, given even what we saw recently in Koyomimonogatari, if we can see on her character, like based, and if we're going back to the quote, if you can't be a cure, be a poison, otherwise you're just plain water, which, by the way, the Kaga part of her name could also mean river, which is, I guess, more flavor to the water theme. Jesus Christ, there's a lot of shit. But because yeah, this moment in the episode where Araragi's like, I look at the, why is this happening to my mic, where Kamado says, you know, look at the water surface, and Araragi looks, and she says, no, at the surface. So you could look at that, you know, how they describe the surface of the water as, you know, being shimmering and distorted. As you could see that, you know, Kamado wants to, in that way, is also preventing a surface distorted, unclear view of herself to Araragi, you know, keeping him at the surface level, quite literally, much like how rain, you know, rainy devil distorts water. I mean, there's definitely a lot of levels you could go there to derive meaning, but, you know, God, that reminds me so much. The site now is called genius.com. It used to be called Rap Genius, and I would go on there a lot when I was like super into my like hardcore hip-hop phase. I was like in high school and high school / college, and it oftentimes you would see like big breakdowns of lyrics of different songs sometimes, which is funny because sometimes artists would come out and being, oh no, that's not what I meant at all, but people be like, oh, they're referencing this, which is actually a triple entendre that means that. And you know, sometimes it would be correct, it would be like, whoa, shit, that's fucking crazy. But it's very, I always find it very interesting how, as an observer, or just someone who appreciates something that is created, can possibly even derive more meaning than was intended by the creator. Or maybe that could even be the intention itself, like to create something that is that has so many pieces, especially something like Monogatari, where everything can be so connected and there's just so much multiple meanings to things and metaphors and references that, you know, you just can't help but you go to this level of depth with this show, because clearly that care was intended by Nishio Isin. But yeah, it very much reminds me of that, and it's maybe possibly true to some extent that it is intentionally created in a way to, like, especially with this series in particular, to really just look and you know, once again, you know, whatever you see in the episode, a reflection of your own thoughts and ideas, which I think in itself is a very clever meta thing, you know, if that was the intention in the first place. Because, you know, here we are talking about this for like for longer than even the episode runs, right? So it's a cool thing. And last thing, apparently, you know, you could even draw a parallel to Seiichiro in Koyomimonogatari, and this one was like, what the fuck, where it's like, you know, he tries to poison Araragi with the holy water, or, you know, you could look at it the reverse way. But with him, it being unclear whether he wants to kill her or make up with her, poison or cure, but, you know, he's defeated because he doesn't accept himself, while Kamado does accept herself in Monogatari. You know, when we saw what happened to Seiichiro compared to her, then yeah, so basically a lot of shit, but I really appreciate you guys sharing that with me, because yeah, that one did puzzle me as well. So it's a cool thing to talk about these things, especially in Monogatari. It's fun. Let's go, beginning the episode in 3, 2, 1. Ooh. I remember hearing this for the first time in Bakemonogatari. I was not aware of the meme. Now I know. Oh, I'm gonna be paying extra attention to this opening now. She drawing manga there? It is a banger. It is quite a banger of a song. Can't even lie. Oh, and these lyrics. But that just won't do. That won't do anymore. Oh boy. Yep. Oh. Koyomi wins. Okay. Hitting all the elements. You know, like flour. Early August, yep. The timeline checks out. Hello. Popcorn, once again. Popcorn. Oh, God. Ah. Thank you for reminding me of the timeline every episode. Gives me a better sense than just the month. Eek. It's quite the visual metaphor. Like how nicely folded they were. Nice hat. Very colorful popcorn. That's true. Makes sense. Don't like it. Oh, God. Is that orange juice? Cheers. Oh, some high def clinking. Happy birthday. My birthday's in April. Hell yeah. Oh, told her all about it. The magic charms. Or maybe ghost stories. How do you spread them? Yeah. Carried on the wind. There you go. Kaze. Guy needs to go in my way percent. Why those two specifically, though? You tell Sukihi. Ah, someone. Yeah. Yeah, that'd be. Friend of a friend. It's a nice chair. Expecting a coincidence. Oh, Kaiki. My boy. By all means, please tell me. Oh god. Yay. This makes me happy. I know. Too real? Oh, really? Interesting. So you give them something to believe in. Is what a good man would think. Hmm. I see. That makes sense. Without breathing room. Desperate. Unhappy. Wow. That is fucked up. Hmm. I remember being that way when I was younger. They were already bad. That's why they jumped at them. Huh. Just bad times. The emptiness before that chaos. The darkness. Hmm. Hmm. Enveloped by the darkness. Yeesh. Apparently. Nothing free with you. Unless it's Kambaru. Wow. Okay. Hmm. Okay. Just did a rewind here to see what all Kayaki said there about the darkness. Of course, it's like a, oh shit, like reference for him to make, considering if my timeline's not mistaken, of course, you know, if he's saying, if you come across something incomprehensible, yeah, I'm pretty sure, like, this is what is about to happen to Mayoi this month, which, you know, we know is such a, I want to say turning point, because it's such a, like a huge major loss, you know, for Araragi to bear. And then, you know, later what happens with Mayoi, accompanied with all, you know, the other problems that are just kind of there that he deals with. But yeah, because, you know, with the way he talked about it and how he talked about it, as well as the other things like, you know, the type of person his cons work on, and how, you know, he's not the one who destroys interpersonal relationships. Like, the reason they're susceptible to these things is because those relationships were already broken. They were already damaged, right? You know, people with breathing room in their lives who have it together have breathing room in their minds. It's not effective on them. But people who are anxious, who are like desperate, you know, who jump at these charms, right? Who will jump at a story, you know, something to fill that emptiness, I guess, to fill that void. Much like how he said, you know, he couldn't do it back in spring because the rumor of the vampire was already present. What he did could not take root until there was the space to do so, which is, you know, an interesting thing to think about. Of course, Kayaki is still a lying scumbag con man, but, you know, his perspective is always, you know, interesting, whether he's telling the truth or not. You know, it's, I mean, talking about this isn't really a truth or lie situation anyway. He is, like he said, he tried to collect the money from Araragi there for insider information there, or a trade secret, as he says. And it almost makes me wonder if, you know, a lot of times the Monogatari characters might have like meta moments where they might foreshadow something just outright blatantly, where it's like comedic. Or, you know, Kayaki's saying this here for us, it's like such a blatant reference to the viewer. But, you know, I have to wonder, maybe even as an expert, could he tell that maybe such a thing would happen? Maybe not the what it ended up being, which is the darkness specifically, which is like a funny coincidence, or maybe not. But even with just what he said, you know, when that emptiness is there, the emptiness before, you know, the chaos, you know, that is the darkness, that thing that envelops the times, the emptiness that people already feel, that draws them toward a ghost story or a charm, you know, to either fill the void in their life, or, you know, whatever, you know, the darkness they already experience, or even the literal darkness that actually literally shows up, you know, for Mayoi. And that whole thing, which, you know, Kayaki's saying it's the lack of wind that's dangerous, you know, after the initial conversation with Nadeko about, you know, her saying, you know, it's the wind, you know, after the question of like how does a rumor spread? How do these stories spread? Like, you know, talking about Kayaki, they went to the man himself, and, you know, they got his opinion. But yeah, it's an interesting thing to think about, especially when you think of like the power of apparitions and of a ghost story, that people believe in it, you know, that which gives it power, you know, that which can even create an apparition itself, the belief in it, which can give it existence, or, you know, give it power. There's that aspect as well. But yeah, I think that's all I gotta say about that one. Of course, if there's anything else you want to add, feel free to, as always. And I'm gonna move on to the next one, so let's go. Beginning the episode in 3, oh god, Jesus Christ. Beginning the episode in 3, 2, 1. Excuse me. Oh, you know, I don't remember this one too well. I know this is Karen B, right? But obviously, but yeah, this one isn't as memorable to me. Which is no knock to Karen. She's a great character. Oh wait, hold on. The melody's coming back to me. Yeah, I remember that rhythm. Na 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 na. Of course, it's still a good opening. There's just so many great openings in Monogatari. Bees. Okay. Koyomi tree. September. Late September. Oh, ooh, nice. Her dojo. Where she kicks ass. It's a tree, alright. It's a dead tree. Does his name mean that, or does Kaiki's? I don't remember. Does Araragi mean... I don't remember. What the fuck? Degeneracy. I do not miss Nisemonogatari. I mean, sure? Great. What a segue to your story. God damn it. What a visual. To help you. They can only help themselves. Good old Karen. That eye. Goes back to cute sister mode. Oh, Jesus. No? No. No, no, no. No Kyokusenbi. Stroking. Repetition character. Uh-huh. Just discovered there. A dead tree discovered. Weird. I don't blame him, like, it's weird. Jesus. Like a tree. Uh-huh. That's what I'm saying. What? This is a widespread phenomenon. Weird. Yeah. I thought she slapped the shit out of him. It is spooky. Very weird. Yikes, that hits pretty hard knowing how she felt before. Hmm. I'm sad. Yes, resolve things. That's what he does now. Forever. Do something about this Hanekawa. Were those little, like, training things? It looks like what Ip Man trains Wing Chun on. Oh. Alright, Hanekawa. Hanekawa's the best, man. She just gets it. Right. It's kind of true of just things like that in general. Yeah. That's an example. Pandemic panic. This episode and the last are interesting as a pair. To stop a pandemic. Boy, I'd like to know. No choice to what? Okay. Cool. Hmm. Uh. I I have nothing to say to that. I'm gonna just leave it there. But, you know, I guess that makes sense. They reached the peak of it, so it had to go down. Oh. And make that the new goal. Reverence. It's a godly tree. Ah. Wow. That's crazy. Huh. Preposterous. Wow. Hmm. If that's the truth. Doesn't matter. That is the truth now. Hmm. Good job, Karen. Maybe not, who knows? Yeah, it's weird. The why wasn't important, but it is weird that it happened. That's the thing. That's a nice kind of apparition right there. Because, yeah, now that they revered it, I like how they describe reverence as like a step above scary, right? That's great though. That was a good one. I really like that one. Yume. Wakararai. Wakarani. Wakara. I'm missing a syllable there. Yeah, even though the reason why it became noticed suddenly and no one noticed it before, even though, you know, they couldn't really find an answer to that, and in the grand scheme it wasn't really important to find out. But no, because I'm having a thought like, well, I had a thought where it's like, yo, maybe the leaves fell out and now they've suddenly noticed it because, you know, it's like fall-ish, and, you know, it's kind of getting to that point. But no, because then they would have noticed like the previous year. Like, I don't know, maybe some innocuous change could have, but like, regardless, you know, that wasn't really the point. And I like the idea of it, you know, the ending of that, you know, an apparition that watches over them as they train, right? It was a very sweet, like, kind of wholesome idea that this tree would become an apparition. Like, even though of course we know many apparitions, like the man of balance himself has said, you know, you fear apparitions, you revere them, you loathe them, but you love them, you respect them, you, like, you know, all these kinds of things that you show to an apparition. We know how they can be, you know, their relationships with humans, and which is kind of funny, you know, you should fear them, and being, you know, one step above spooky being scary, and like, let's take it a step further than that, reverence, right? You know, kind of tying into the hierarchy of feelings that you should feel about an apparition. It's a very, like, wholesome perspective, and an apparition that, you know, that simply watches over them as they train. Because I feel like the idea of that is would normally be, like, alarming, considering, you know, the existence of them in this world and the belief that people create that fuels them. I mean, it's just like in human nature to seek belief and create belief if need be, if it is not found. It wouldn't be surprising, like the infinite amount of apparitions that could have been created, some very benign to the most destructive, you know, where you see someone like of course there's a conversation there about, you know, the human aspects of apparitions, especially since they are inherently tied to humans in their interactions, in their creation, in their everything. Like, it comes from humans, basically, in one way or another. Overall, I really enjoyed this one. I mean, minus the revisiting of degenerate Nisei Monogatari bullshit. It was cool to see Karen again, you know, the length she went to protect this tree, you know, being the one to find it, you know, and wanting to save it, basically, you know, such an Araragi move. So he gets Hanakawa's help, and such a smart move, basically, to be like, you know, it's not about, you know, why it suddenly popped up or why it was just now noticed, but it's the fact that everyone is now noticed and they can't stop noticing, right? Which is a very real phenomenon. Once you become aware of something, you become very acutely aware of it. In some scenarios, and it can be scary in certain scenarios, which is, you know, kind of like what happened here. Like, you know, sometimes at night, especially when I was younger, maybe I'd read like I used to be into like creepypasta, right? I don't know if you guys know what that is, but basically like scary stories, a lot of stuff that people write and publish, like, you know, the SCP database, you know, secure, contain, protect is one of those things, like a set of entries of. That wasn't the shit that really scared me. I used to read like really long, just fucked up, like scary stories, and they were good. I enjoyed it, but man, they would have me on edge, and I would very stupidly read them at night, which is kind of funny considering how bad I am with horror games and horror movies. But I think the idea of reading it is more digestible. I can leave it to my imagination and not get jump scared. It's really the jump scares that I fucking hate. It just gets to me way too bad. I just hate it. But anyway, yeah, that's when that happens. I'll like maybe notice something leaning in my closet, and now I'm super focused on that, and now I see it's kind of starting to maybe shimmer in the dark or whatever the fuck, you know, whatever I'm seeing, you know, and in the mind at that point just gives free reign. And, you know, in the world of Monogatari, and of course in our world, like you know, you look at religion, you look at all the mythology, like thousands and thousands of years we've been doing this, creating stories, creating belief in a very genius way. Hanakawa just rolled exactly what that was, taking that fear, elevating it to reverence, which the concept of that makes so much sense, but it's so funny to me. It's like, yeah, that is like the next step. I don't know, it's just weird, it's crazy, but yeah, it's true. Low possibility that was the tree they used to build the dojo, but you know, who knows, maybe it's an apparition now, one that watches over them and they train. And again, I love the wholesomeness of that, of a tree apparition that watches over Karen as she trains. Yeah, I like that one a lot. I do. If anyone else has more to say about that, or the last one, of course, feel free, as always, because certain things are going over my head here. This wasn't as bad as Koyomi Water. Like, that one really, like, I really struggled to find things to say about that one. But yeah, these were good, and you know, this story is good. I'm enjoying going down the line, being reminded of events that happen, being reminded of characters, revisiting times, and pretty much like you said, Thorfinn, in its way, it's like, in a way, it's like its own recap of the show that we are going in this order, and I can't wait till we get to the end of it. It's a cool revisiting. But as we go through that, as we like add on the experience of things that have happened with Araragi and happened with our characters, and you know, the weight of that becomes greater, and I feel like it'll also add a lot to whatever story gets told and what do we take away from that. I mean, hell, even mentioning the darkness with Kaiki in the last one is significant as well, and you know, that becomes more impactful as we go on. But yeah, so can't wait for more of that kind of thing, and that's it. So once again, or thank you for watching. I'm gonna say it again. Once again, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Peace.